What beer were they drinking in the Shire? It's complicated. Hey, I'm Harrison. I'm a certified sommelier, a huge token nerd, and your very own Mid-Earth Somm. A few weeks ago, when we broke down the wines of the Shire, some of you rightfully noted the absence of ale. Literally, just the only thing you guys wanted. So fine, we talked long and hard about it, and we decided to risk me being decertified as a sommelier, and we're gonna talk to you about beer.
It comes in pints?
Oh.
I can get you one.
Let's drink like hobbits. Now, compared to wine, beer isn't just about ingredients. It's about process, culture, and technology. Wine is relatively simple. You harvest grapes, you crush them, you let yeast do its work, then age and bottle, done. But beer? With beer, you're tricking grains into germinating, drying and roasting them, steeping them like tea, adding hops, fermenting with yeast, then conditioning, bottling, distributing, all with many steps within those steps that can change its character completely. The more you fuck with it, the more diverse your products will be. And there are lots of regional variations. Broadly speaking, the process of winemaking emphasizes the character of the grape, the place and the season in which it was grown. The process of beer brewing emphasizes the decisions of the brewer and the culture that shaped them. Chances are you can taste when a wine comes from a warm vintage. The fruit tastes riper, there's a higher alcohol content, there's less acidity, and often deeper color concentration in reds. With beer, however, there are so many steps in production, I'm willing to bet that in most cases, with most beers, you would not be able to tell the character of the growing season. Although, tokens certainly seem to think so. But we'll get to proper 1420 ale a little bit later. I'm so worried I'm going to gesticulate and just spill beer all over myself. This is also due to the nature of just what it is that we're turning into alcohol. With wine, we're turning fruit that has fermentable sugars, variable pigmentation, various tannin levels, and variety-specific flavors into juice that ferments with either cultivated or wild yeasts, from which it picks up some flavor character, though not in most styles, and either takes on flavor from the oak or stainless steel it's fermented and or aged in. Beer, on the other hand, is fermenting grains, usually barley, but also wheat, rye, oats, corn, and rice, just to name a few. We get some flavor and texture from the grains themselves, but we get equal, if not more amounts, from the way that it's dried and the degree to which it's roasted. Depending on the style of beer, we could be getting as much flavor or more from the yeast strains used or the addition of assertive hops. Generally speaking, wine reflects terroir. Its climate, soil, and vintage year are baked into the final product. With beer, the seasonal fingerprint is far less present. The brewing process and recipe matter more than the barley's growing season. And that's key when thinking about Hobbit beer. When we're trying to figure out what wine grapes would grow well in a region, we look at the region's soil. We look at its climate, the altitude, the latitude, geographic elements like mountains. We try to come up with candidates based on that for grapes that would fare well in those conditions. With beer, grains just aren't as picky with where and how they'll grow. You can basically grow most grains in most places, even in colder climates. Wine is an elf. It sort of immediately starts dying, fading, when it leaves the light of Valinor. And if left in weird conditions long enough, you'll get some weird, funky Sindar situation, like with this abomination. Oh God, take that away. Get it off the screen. Beer is man, adapting to whatever climate and region they get their grubby little mortal hands on. Some are blessed, like the long-lived, dark-haired Númenóreans. Some are best in their youth, like the blink-and-you-miss-em Gondorians. Some are kinda horsey, like the iron-crotcheted riders of Rohan. Dry, like the desert-adapted Easterlings. And funky as like whatever the Southrons are supposed to be. Ultimately, what beer a culture drinks is more tied to their culture, their tastes, and the technology that they had to be able to brew. So, to figure out what beer the hobbits were drinking, we have to ask ourselves, who are the hobbits? What technology do they have? And what do they define as good beer? Follow along for more Mid-Earth Somm as I explore what beer did the hobbits drink? But we'll get to proper 1420 ale a little bit later. The later is now. Why did hobbits refer to good beer as proper 1420? What is 1420? Who is 1420? And why should we fear it? In the appendices, Tolkien notes that the year 1420 was regarded as a year so good for beer that a generation later, anytime someone had a good pint, they'd declare it as right old proper 1420. The North Farthing barley was so fine that the beer of 1420 malt was long remembered and became a byword. So what exactly does that mean? I mean, what does a vintage have to do with how good a beer can be? Well, let's look at history. So we'll note that for the better part of the late 19th into the early 20th century, Britain was dominated by porters. Now these are dark, roasty beers with ABVs topping off in the 7 to 8% range. Following the rationing of grains in World War I, however, brewers were left with less barley to work with, meaning less sugar for their yeasts to ferment into alcohol, and the now commonplace 5% ABV ale came into fashion. This trend continued through the Depression and the grain rationing of the Second World War to give us the now ubiquitous standard home base ABV of 5% that we see in most beers today. If I had to guess, I'd say that 1420 was just such a good harvest, as Token notes in multiple places, that they just simply had more barley to ferment into alcohol. They just were able to make higher ABV ales from the sheer volume of barley that they had. Nothing to do with taste at all. More sugars mean more alcohol. These hobbits just wanted to get drunker. Which, if you watch our video on how much a pint can f up a hobbit, link in the description, you'll know just how deadly this vintage proved to be. 1420. Highest birth rates and highest death rates in the Shire. Proper 1420. Hey, we're a new channel here at Mid-Earth Som, so please, if you can, share, like, subscribe. Also, please comment below what region of Middle-earth you'd like to see us cover next. If you don't, I will start doing Dune lore. Don't try me on this, I will do it. I've read so many of the books. Like, literally I'm on book 5 right now. I got past the God Emperor Dune stuff. I got past the 3,000-year-old sandworm stuff. I am unstoppable. I will keep, I'm gonna read the Brian Herbert ones too. Nobody reads those, but I will. If you don't comment, I'm gonna do it. I will hurt myself like that. And that'll be on you.